Holy crap!
Peter, the horse is here.
Oh yeah.
This clip is from a 2009 episode where Peter buys a brain-dead horse. The scene is supposed to be just a funny introduction to the horse being in the dining room. And for over a decade, that's all it was. But then, in 2021, history was made when a longer pause was added between Lois's words.
Peter, the horse is here.
That's all it took to change the mood here. Suddenly, the blank expression on the horse can be perceived much differently. It wouldn't be long until others would act on the eerie vibes they'd get from this. They would make Lois repeat herself as the screen gets distorted.
Peter, the horse is here. The horse is here.
They would add Five Nights at Freddy's audio.
Peter, the horse is here.
The most talented of folks would even reanimate the scene itself, adding in their own unique special touch of visual discomfort. I'm personally a big fan of seeing all the ways the horse is depicted. From an innocuous, all-seeing being, to a living skeleton, to...
Peter, the horse is here.
The extent of human imagination is in full display here with the sheer variety of different directions this one single scene has taken. I specifically want to highlight this one from horror animator Bonesworth. The dinner table is minimized, with only Peter and Lois sitting at it. When Lois says her iconic line, we see a shocked and low-lit Peter make an expression of solemn terror as something lurks beyond the shadows. Peter stands up and... Lois processes this loss as the lone flower dies, both of them ending up in a similar position. We cut to a hospital room where Peter lies motionless on the bed. Slowly, a hunched-over bipedal creature emerges. It holds Peter before getting closer and crushes his head. Back at the family home, the flower is wilted and Lois is still at the table, the creature's head hanging above her. Its arms caress the heartbroken widow and, just like with Peter, it crushes her head. We then see a handgun lying on the floor, followed by two horse skulls on pedestals. The horse creature here can be inferred as a representation of death. Peter dies due to some sort of medical issue and, unable to bear the loss, Lois takes her own life. Everything in this animation, from the grainy visuals to the art style to the sound design to the metaphors, encapsulates what the internet is all about. Only here can a concept such as this minor clip from an animated sitcom snowball all the way down to becoming a beautifully tragic short story. By the way, if you're enjoying this, please do consider subscribing. It helps out a ton. Thanks. Of course, not all of the Family Guy horror scene can be as well thought out. There was this trend of sharing Family Guy clips alongside aesthetically pleasing footage. These two things put together is meant to retain the viewer for a longer time, enticing them to watch the whole video. This attention-grabbing method would eventually be abused as posters would catch the viewers off guard by including random, loud jump scares halfway through the video. There's really not much else to say about these, as they're just cheap scares and done for the sake of shock value. What I do enjoy, though, are the types of videos that take an analog turn. Of these, this one right here is the most well-known. It features a horrified Chris looking on at multiple violent acts from the show being played out one after another. My favorite interpretation of this is that Chris developed some form of awakening where he realizes the type of world he resides in. His family is needlessly cruel. The people around him do terrible things. This world is one where violence runs rampant, and yet there are no permanent consequences to it. To everyone else, this is normal. This is what their lives are. But this realization breaks Chris. There are other analog horror videos out there where it's not just him, but the entire Griffin family that's suffering. With the sky turned red and God abandoning them, they're forced to live out the rest of their lives in these horrific, deteriorating forms. There are also these anomaly videos where Family Guy TV footage plays before being interrupted by something creepy. Usually something that reaches out and acknowledges the viewer, trying to break through from the screen and into our world, trying to convey an urgent message to you.
Freaking believable.
Peter 5-4.
There's an evil monkey in my...
As interesting as this type of concept can be, unfortunately, some of these videos have taken this idea too far.
Hey, these look like handcuff and shackle keys.
How do you know that? Help get my kids back. My name is Margot Lee Winters, and my kids are Edward Winters and Mallory Winters, and they have been missing since
Matthew Dane. Please help me locate Matthew Dane. He has my child captive and has been tormenting me and my family with calls for his ransom.
These are videos that start off with normal Family Guy clips, but as you just saw, they take a drastic turn. An AI voice of the character lets out a dire plea for help to find missing children. Now, thankfully, on the surface, from what I could see, most of the children that end up in these videos are completely made up. But there's a certain type of these videos that are based around a legitimate case. Volume warning, by the way.
Are you familiar with Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers? Please help me locate my son, Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. He has been missing since February 26, 2025.
I miss my son. I miss Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. He is alone and scared, presumably dead. Help me find Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. Help me. Find Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers.
Now, I have been around the internet for a while, and being raised on it with almost no adult supervision, I've seen some stuff and I'm fairly desensitized. But there's something about this clip that just deeply, deeply unnerves me. Again, this specific example revolves around a real missing child. It is exploiting a tragedy for views, and it sadly doesn't just end here, as this has become a more widespread trend beyond this single Family Guy video. But I don't want to dwell on that any longer. This is not the first video where I cover internet horrors, as I've done that before with SpongeBob and Thomas the Tank Engine. The difference here, though, is that those were children's shows. Family Guy is for adults, and therefore has a lot of adult content, including vivid acts of violence. Its viewers are already well accustomed to seeing these characters in this type of environment. That's why I didn't really touch on any of the Family Guy fan-made horror games. From what I've seen, they just haven't been able to do more than the typical turn character into a killer type game. That's why I appreciate the fan animations the most, how they just lean into the horror of it all. Some of them even retain the spirit of the show, as they include small bits of humor to go along with their terror. I'm glad people were able to have fun with these, and I'm excited for what'll come next out of this weird corner of the internet. I highly recommend you guys go down this rabbit hole yourselves as well. Now that I think about it, this whole thing kind of reminds me of the time when I